Hello again, guys. It is I, Freeze700. We are back with some Warhammer 40K lore. This time, Tau battle strategies and tactics. Ha 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 ha. So, their military mostly consists of highly specialized and highly micromanaged forces. Now, a basic unit is known as a cadre. And a cadre could be anything. It could be like a stealth suit or just a fire warrior cast. It could be really anything. Now, 3 to 6 of these cadres together will form a Tiove, or a Tiova. I don't know how you pronounce it. I'm really bad at it. I've had a few Tau players get pissed at me because I didn't pronounce it the way they thought it was pronounced. Listen, bud. It's a fake language. I don't give a fuck. Besides that, a Tiova is roughly similar to the size of an Imperial Guard regiment. This means that you expect a few thousand Tau, and of course it's got tanks, maybe a few support like artillery. It could have some around there. Now 3 to 6 of the Tiove is known as a Cavall, and the Cavall are really temporary, like they're not going to last long. As usually the cadres will keep switching and forming with other Tioves or other cadres, and it'll just keep mix-mashing, and the reason why is that they're fluctuating based on the situation. As the whole purpose of the Tau army and their whole battle doctrine is constantly switching their game, constantly changing their strategies, constantly being flexible. This is how that works. By being constantly flexible with this command structure, you have it where they could give you a broad response to an enemy threat or a highly specialized, very specific response to the enemy threat. Like if the enemy is orcs and it is unknown what their army is bringing, then the Tau can assemble a quick force of quick Cavall that is just a mix mash of random stuff. Like it could be a bunch of fire warriors and hammerheads, but each hammerhead and each fire warrior cadre is equipped for totally different things. Like you could have one fire warrior cadre that's equipped with pure anti-vehicle weapons. Then you could have another one, like a hammerhead, who's equipped for pure anti-infantry weapons. This can totally happen, and this is, again, just a broad response to an unknown threat. Usually, though, the Tau do not fight that way. They usually like to research and scout their enemy out and drag them out into the muck to figure out what the fuck cadres they should be using and what cadres should be equipped with. Because those cadres aren't always going to stick with a railgun. They're not always going to stick with a pulse rifle. They tend to switch their gear out because it's good for them. Like, if I only stuck with one gun, like if I only stuck with a sniper rifle and someone told me, okay, I want you to enter that bunker. What the fuck am I going to do with this thing in a bunker? Exactly, I'm going to switch out for a shotgun. That's something that the Tau tend to do. Now, their battle plans are highly individualized because of this. And this is where it gets a total mindfuck of confusion. Essentially what happens is somehow the Tau have done it where each cadre has its own orders to execute. And this alone just sounds like a fuckfest. Because if every cadre and every Cavall has its own orders and its own plans to execute, then that means that no cadre knows what the other one is doing. And that also means that High Command has a lot of commanding to do and a lot of micromanaging in case one of those plans fail. Like if half of them fail, well now they gotta make up like 6 new plans for those people. That's a lot of fucking work. So as I said, this could be a real big fuckfest. But if it works, it's gonna work superbly. It's gonna be almost like the Eldar where if they plan and it works, it's gonna be a fucking massacre for the enemy. Now, should an order fail, the cadre will just simply pull back the moment they catch a whiff of danger and replan with High Command as to what to do. Usually the answer is quick, and usually they don't have to pull back that much. Now, as far as the defense goes for the Tau, personally they believe in that there should never be a static defense. If you have a static defense like a bunker, and you're actually holding it for a long period of time, you're just asking to lose to the enemy, as the enemy will eventually find a fucking weakness. So that's why the Tau have adopted more of a mobile strategy, a loose defense, if you will. So in other words, they do not have a city that has walls. Instead, what they have is they have cities that have roads so they can get the fuck out. They have back doors, essentially, to everywhere that they go. They scout out the shit out of the terrain so they know when and where to make a left, when and where to make a right, when and when to back the fuck up when you need to. This is their main method of warfare, is constantly running the fuck away. Now you may think, well, Freezer 700, that sounds fucking boring as fuck. Who the fuck wants to fight just constantly running backwards? Like, what the fuck is this? Well, the reason why is that the Tau don't have the resources or the numbers to fight in a drawn-out slugfest like the Imperial Guard or the Orcs. So in other words, they're not the kind of guys who could sit there and just punch bloody knuckles with you all day. They can't do that. They don't have the strength or the resources to be doing that. Whereas the Imperial Guard and the Orcs, they love playing bloody knuckles against each other. Shit, sometimes the Imperial Guard even wins in that sort of situation. So what this means is that their vehicles and their troops are trained and designed technologically to be mobile and to use long-range combat, as this gives them the ability to move and shoot at the enemy while the enemy continues to chase without any real defenses protecting them, because after all, you're chasing. You're not going to be able to set up a defense while you're chasing. That's literally impossible. So this is actually surprisingly effective, as the Tau essentially destroy enemy forces, and then they sweep back and retake all the territory they lost once their foe is defeated. Now, you would think that this would be ridiculously easy to win against, as all you'd have to do is just chase a Tau a little bit, take over everything for free, and then just sit there, right? You would think that would be easy, right? Well, the issue is that the Tau will constantly keep pecking at you like little fucking crows until you eventually leave your fortress. Because after all, you have to remember that the Imperium of Man, the Orcs, they're not really known for their temper. If you keep pissing on an Imperial Guardsman, eventually he's going to get very zealous and scream for his God Emperor as he charges out into the forest trying to stab whoever the fuck keeps shooting at him. And for an Orc, they just get really pent up and really angry that they're getting shot at because they really want to squish someone's fucking head between their fucking hands. So when you keep doing this, you're antagonizing their ego, which is of course going to make them draw out. So you may think this is a free win for the Imperial Guard and the Orcs, but reality is this is going to be a very slow, drawn-out defeat for them if they tend to pursue, which, given their personality and their psyche profile, they're going to fucking pursue. Now, what about planet strategies? So this is where things get very fucking interesting. So the United States government, I hate to veer off topic, but we're going to veer off topic. So the United States government has many contingency plans. A lot of them are like things like, what would you do if zombies happen? What do you do if nukes blow up the earth? What do you do if a massive wave of locusts eat all the plants? Stuff like that. Well, the answer to all these contingency plans is typically save as many people as possible, as in the future, the people will be the greatest resource we have. The Tau's answer to dealing with invasions is the exact same solution. Save as many people as fucking possible, because in the future, they're going to be our greatest resource available. So that means that holding a city means nothing to them if you lose all the people who can live in it. Holding an iron mine is useless if you have no one to work it because you sacrificed all the miners. So that means that the Tau's main goal in any invasion is always evacuation. So that means that anytime an enemy comes, they know that they need the iron mine. They know they need it. But they know this. The iron mine is fucking useless if they lose everybody who could possibly work that mine. So they pull back. They let the guy have their fun, take over the iron mine. But in the future, they will have people who can aid them and multiply and able to join the infantry unit that would help reclaim that iron mine. Whereas the dude who took the iron mine, he's struggling because he's lost so many men to take it over. So it's kind of hard for him to get miners to benefit from what he stole from the Tau. This is their strategy. Again, save as many people as fucking possible. And since there's no defenses built up in the city or any holdings they own, it's actually very easy for them to reclaim everything, because why would any of it get destroyed? The Imperium of Man is not going to destroy these highly advanced structures. No, they're just going to simply repurpose them. Now, the Orcs, on the other hand, they're going to be maybe destroy one or two buildings, but they're not going to level the whole fucking city. So again, it's still easier to just simply fall back, let the enemy maybe destroy one or two buildings, but once you defeat the enemy, you get to reclaim the whole fucking city like as if nothing ever happened once you defeat the enemy forces. This also means, though, that since they don't believe in losing people, and they always have the idea of, we're going to retreat because we're going to reclaim this later on. because that's their main battle strategy when it comes to invasions and stuff. That means that when they use their artillery bombardments, that means that whenever they bombard a city or bombard anything, their artillery is designed for specific bombardment. It's not collateral based like the Imperium or the Orcs. It's always laser guided, highly accurate missiles or laser projectile bombardments that has been like looked over 3 or 4 times by mathematicians, so it knows that it's going to land exactly right here. This again helps reduce the collateral damage, so that way when the Tau take over the city, there's very little structural damage, and that means that the civilian population's untouched. So if the Imperium retreats and they just left a bunch of civilians around, the civilians aren't going to have any real reason to hate the Tau, because they kept their collateral damage to a minimum. And that means that they can work on assimilating them to the greater good. And if you know Tau, you know they love fucking talking about the greater good. You can't have a single fucking moment without Tau saying how great the greater good is. So for him to come across this human population and now increase the number of civilians he has, people are the greatest resource they have. This is like fucking dropping gold for them. So this is how their battle strategies typically work. So, well, now that we're done talking about that, how do usually invasions work for the Tau? Like when they decide to invade, when they decide to attack. Well, they have 2 strategies, both of which are mostly offensive, but they do have their own defensive capabilities. Like you have the Montka, the killing blow as it translates to in High Gothic, which is the severe studying of an enemy and then typically deploying super advanced mechs and vehicles to smash either the whole enemy force or kill the critical key aspects of that army that will just totally cripple them. So in other words, what that means is that if the Imperial Guard is there and they're fully deployed, but you know that their infantry is absolutely worthless, then what the Montka is going to do is they're going to ignore the infantry and go straight for the killing power, which could be the Space Marines, it could be the Lehman Russ tanks, it could be a Titan. And once they eliminate those, what are the Imperial Guardsmen going to fucking do? They're helpless against the rest of the Tau army. And they will just simply retreat and fall back and say, fuck this, I'm not going to die like this. And that's how the Montka really works. Now, when it comes to the Kion, the Patient Hunter, here they lay ambushes and usually lure enemies into traps and ambushes. This is typically done by the infantry and by deploying a lot of rapid attack / rapid deployment tactics. So you would expect to see really fast hammerheads swoop in, swoop out, stuff like that. Or expect a lot of stealth suits to be sitting in the forest that will just shoot the shit out of you. Now I have some diagrams here to further explain this. So without further ado, here we go about the diagrams. So this is what we're using for the Montka strategy. Here we have some 2 massive green stars, and these green stars represent like a superpower, which could be either like Lehman Russ tanks or Titan, or just maybe a contingent of Space Marines. So let's start with the first thing that the Montka can do. Well, the Montka could just do long-range tactics. Say, you know what? Those Titans are absolutely useless without the infantry. So what I did was I put 3 Firecast Warriors, and if you look at the range box that I put in dark blue, you see that at the very edge of the blue box, they are able to basically snipe the whole front fucking line of the Imperial Guard regiment, and they can't do anything about it. Their range is less than half of that. So what that means is that the Imperial Guard regiment is going to have to go out. And this is not good, because this leaves them open. This means that they're going to get shot some fucking more. And what else they can do is they could just simply say, you know what? While we're taking shots at you here, we're going to deploy the anti-Titan maneuvers or anti-armor or anti-Space Marine maneuver. This would be the 2 giant blue triangles that I put here. And these 2 things are going to send 2 massive fuck you bombs right towards whatever the fuck the green star is. Because after all, the Tau are very adaptable, and they will pretty much analyze what the fuck it is that they're fighting, and they will send this nasty, nasty, nasty FU bomb right their way. And now that you just lost the key thing in your Imperial army, now all that's left is just those Imperial Guard regiments. And that's essentially what the Montka will do, is they'll analyze, They'll see, okay, well, we could do this, but we don't want to. So instead, how about we do this? And how about we add this to the mix? And how about we add this? Okay, now the cadres are done, they can all retreat and form different Tiova or Cavals, because we don't need them now that they executed this one specific mission. That's nice. The next is the Kayun. And the Kayun's very basic, it's a lot shorter. I've drawn it up here. But essentially what's going to happen is you're going to have, since it's mostly infantry based, remember that, essentially what's going to happen is they're going to put a lure, and that's what I put as a yellow dot. Now, the blue diamonds are just stealth suits or some elite ambushing force that the Tau would have. Now, all of them have their line of sight fixated on that yellow circle. And that yellow circle could be anything. It could be like, maybe the commander decides to use himself as bait, which is highly fucking unlikely, but it could happen. Or maybe it's their forces retreating into this position, so now the Imperial Guard is chasing. Well, in the green box I put here, and I illustrated the range that this Imperial box would have later on, but you can tell that right off the bat, there's the Imperial box, and here's the Imperial box's range. It's not that impressive, is it? Yeah, well, they're about to realize how unimpressive their weaponry is compared to the Tau once the Tau spring their trap and start opening fire. And they will be defenseless against it, because it'll be coming from multiple directions, well executed, very basic Kayun strategy. Now, I want to explore the Kayun strategy more, but unfortunately I don't have enough time to draw more images of this, so you're just going to have to hear me talk. And I know that's not a big problem for you guys, because you guys love me, so thank you, by the way. So essentially what the Kayun can do is the Kayun can be broken down into more interesting strategies. This is why I don't really like seeing the Montka. The Montka is mostly a siege strategy. You study your enemy, and then deploy whatever would just cripple them in their defenses. Whereas the Kayun, you could do a lot of very fucking interesting things with it. Some of those interesting things are very malicious, very intimidating, very interesting. Stuff that is almost nightmarish to deal with if you were ever in the military. So some strategies would include ambushing road or pathways. This way the enemy can't reach a said location. This would be more typical, but I think it's kind of bland. So the other times it's far more interesting is when they let the enemy go ahead up that road and reach their location. But once they set up camp and they are setting up fortifications to fight the main Tau force, the Kayun force is going to make it where supplies can't get through. Now you have a whole regiment of Imperial Guards trapped in a situation that they can't get out of. They can't retreat because they'll get shredded on the road, but they can't stay there because they're going to run out of food and supplies. Now they're starving. And how loyal do you think a commissar is when he's got just him and 3 other commissars, and he's got over 1,000 troops who are starving and don't give a fuck about the greater good or the God Emperor of mankind, because right now they're starving, they don't have food, they just want to survive. Yeah, the commissar may put a few troops to death, but eventually the troops are going to say, fuck this, it's been 2 weeks, we've gotten no food in the past 3 days, we're just going to kill the commissars and go join the Tau. And the Tau will easily convert these troops to their side, or just simply wipe them out once they're too weak to do anything. Like if they're the Mordian Iron Guard, they're not going to give up. So the Tau is just going to simply wait, and wait, and wait. And if they're the Mordian Iron Guard, you know this. They don't make orders themselves. So if you order them up a canyon, they're going to go up that canyon until you tell them to come down. No matter what. So the Tau are really good against the Mordian Iron Guards, because they could just simply do that. Trap them up the mountain with no supplies, they're cut off, and now they're stuck there because they're so hardcore disciplined that they'd rather starve to death rather than think, we should probably retreat. Yeah, this is why the Tau Kayun strategy is very interesting. Now they can also do some other greater strategies, like they could ambush the road. So the road has stealth suits, it's got battle suits, they're ready to ambush a large force. But they don't. So instead they let the enemy keep going and going and going, even let supplies go through, they don't give a fuck. But this is when High Command will tell them, okay, Now that you spotted a super weapon, whether it's artillery, whether it's vehicles, whether it's something that the Tau High Command knows that they can't deal with, they could go, all right, now we'll flip the kill switch. Now you can wipe them out. Well, now this, whatever it was, whether it's a massive wave of artillery or troops or vehicles, or maybe it was just a special unit. So it could have been the commander himself of the Imperial Army is now walking up there. Boom, you just eliminated him. Well, now this very, very key piece in a very delicate machine just got taken out. That means that the rest of the army is now utterly useless. Now, thankfully, Imperial regiments are a little bit more flexible than that, a little bit more adaptable. But if they're missing a key component here, like they were hiding up some sort of wild card to surprise the Tau and they just lost it, this war is not going to go their favor, and they know it. Because the Tau just simply need a few days of research, and they'll come up with something to fuck you up. Whether it's rapid-fire cannons to wipe out your infantry, or whether it's slow firing, but sure as shit going to rip through all your armor kind of weapons. They're going to do it. So for the Imperial Guards to lose this key piece in their strategy, this is just over before it even began kind of strategy. This is why I like the Cayenne strategy. It could be very fucking interesting, very nice to read about in a book, very terrifying for the Imperial Guardsmen. But sadly, in a tabletop sense, it's not realistic to execute that because it's tabletop. Like, it's just a small, high-pitched battle versus an actual war. That is more impressive. So besides that, this has been Freezer 700 talking about the Tau battle tactics and strategies. I hope you guys learned some. I hope you guys enjoyed. But besides that, see you guys next time. Comment down below what you guys think about the Tau. Let me know what you guys' favorite part is about the Tau, what draws you to their army. Personally, I like their army because I like the whole sci-fi shootiness. I like the idea of just running around the mountain going tee-hee and then just keep blasting some fucker while he's trying to charge at me and rip my fucking face off. But besides that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys next time.